Hello everyone, and welcome back to the War Thunder official stream. My name is Mike Goes Boom, and I am joined here by the lovely Tom, aka Oxy, and today we have quite something special for you guys. Your mic is off, by the way. We are going to be presenting you a preview of some of the content coming up in the next major update called Groundbreaking. You have seen the trailer in the background of the stream whilst you were waiting, as you should. I hope you were there, eh? Of course, you have seen the trailer as well on YouTube before, and today we are on our pre-production server to show you some of the cool new stuff that you will be able to play with quite soon, TM. By the way, a little announcement. In something that is actually quite unusual, you will actually get to play this today. Essentially, right after the stream ends, the dev server will open, which is our public testing server, where you guys will be able to test out all of this new equipment yourself. So, download the dev server right now. If you haven't yet, you can find it on Google. Just Google War Thunder dev server and you will get there just fine. Okay, how about we go right into it then?
How about we do that?
Oh god, the chat is terrifying.
Yes.
Okay, let's start off. We are going to go nation by nation, presenting some of the new vehicles, some changes to old vehicles, and new mechanics as well. So, let's start off with the Americans. The Americans are getting a new jet, the A70. Not that new, of course. We have previous variants of this plane already in the game. However, this specific new version brings a new type of ordnance, the AGM-62A Walleye. Think of these like Mavericks, essentially, AGM-65s, but they are not missiles. They are gliding bombs, TV-guided bombs, which can actually be used against moving targets as well. Sorry, I'm looking a little bit too much there. Okay, now I'm going to go into ready mode so you guys can see all the stats and all the good stuff. I'm going to make sure I am in realistic mode this entire time so you guys can look at the stat cards. By the way, this is all very much work in progress. This is a pre-development server. If you see any bugs or any missing loadout options or anything like that, don't worry, this is still not ready for the final release. That's still a few weeks out. Okay. A70 battery rating at 10.7. You got quite a few loadout options, pretty much to your heart's desire. You can get up to the AIM-9D if you want to do some air-to-air combat, but that's not really what this vehicle was designed for. Instead, you have these things over here, the AGM-62A. Are you okay, Tom?
Yep, just sort of tapping my chest.
Okay.
I believe it gets the G's as well, does it not?
I don't believe it. The E's, yes, it does the E's.
Oh, it does get the G as well, there with the cannons.
Okay, never mind. Anyway, this is the AGM-62A. Now, I'm going to quickly see if I can show you how they work in a test flight. I'm going to make it arcade mode just because it's easier to take off. Well, not easy, but quicker, if it makes any sense. Yes. Alright. Now, if you are unaware, we have a thing called the multifunction menu in this game. It essentially allows you to save a lot on keybinds. You can access various vehicle functions, weapon functions, all that good stuff. Now, what I am particularly interested in is the cockpit settings, which are going to have the target point settings. You can, of course, go into the AGM camera itself if you want to, but personally, I like using the other method just because it's a bit easier to use when you are maneuvering around as well, for example, in ground RB. I sadly do not have any moving targets, or at least any moving ground targets on this test flight to be able to show you the capabilities of this gliding bomb, but I should be able to log on to that SPA over there.
Give it a go.
Let's see if I can get a lock.
Can he do it? Will it work this time?
I'll try to. The bomb is tracking. I'm going to release it. These are pretty much drop and forget, by the way. Once you drop the bombs, you don't have to worry about it anymore. You only have to get the lock. The bomb will guide itself, even on a moving target. This is a TV optical guidance system, which is quite nice. You do, of course, have to get close enough to actually be able to pick up a target. It is not always the easiest thing to do, depending on the conditions. These are pretty much ideal conditions. The tanks are in a wide open field, and we aren't having any obstructions of weather or on any of that stuff, really. Let's see if I can lock on again and drop the bomb. You can drop them off axis as well from a considerable if you want to. The bomb will guide itself, and it allows you to do some interesting ground strike things. Yes, this is, by the way, not the only new loadout option. There have been a few additions to the Jaguar A, which we are going to be covering later on, as well as some other planes. But first, before we do that, let's head over to Tom's point of view, who is going to be presenting you the new American ship.
Well, ships. Couple.
Yes.
So have a brief look at these ships, and of course, ships aren't to everyone's taste, but there are people who are interested. This is a Uss Mitchell, I believe it's pronounced. Not very similar to other sort of the early frigates or blue water ships that US gets. A bit more modern. So you have two of the main guns here. They do reload at roughly the same speed, I believe, or maybe a bit faster. But these aren't really the most interesting aspect of this particular ship. This actually gets two of the anti-submarine launchers. The Japanese Isuzu has these as well, only one of them. But these are pretty nuts. I can't really show you in a live battle because it'll take too long. But if we can... Actually, I don't know if I can show it on here. I don't believe it has the actual stats available to look at. But basically, if you hit a ship with one of these, it will one-shot basically anything. Maybe not a battleship, but it's pretty powerful. So it's quite different to the other options available, which is quite nice. You know, however many Fletchers there were is a huge amount. But this actually does offer something different, which is really, really nice. So going to be a nice one. It's quite early on in the tree, so pretty easy to get as well. Briefly, we can have a look at the new premium tier 2 boat. Yeah, has the proper Dazzle camo on it, which is quite nice.
Confused.
Maybe to some people this isn't the most interesting thing, but it's a 1.7 and has a frontal 40mm, which is really, really good for the early patrol boats. A lot of these have the 40 in the back, which isn't quite as useful. It requires a little bit of maneuvering to get it working, but this one's going to be pretty nice. And also, before we move on very quickly, something I've been waiting for this for a while. It's a really small change. But the P-38J, the L, and the F7F now have their late war 50 cal belts. Mid-war, and they all now have the late war. And this is something, it's quite a small thing, but I've actually been kind of looking forward to that happening, which is really nice. I like these planes. So, yeah, that's all we've got over here for now. But,
now keep in mind, we are not showing every new vehicle that is coming in this update just yet. This is a very early look. You will be able to, hopefully be able to play some of the vehicles that have not been announced yet, or that aren't going to be announced yet today on one of the dev servers. Maybe not today, though. Okay, next up we have the Germans. I heard you guys like small tankette-looking things. Maybe something that is called Weasel. I heard you guys like Weasels. We have 3 new Weasels making it to the game. A completely new vehicle, which I can best describe as someone taking the Italian L333 and trying to make it fight modern tanks. That's pretty much the best I can come up with. Let's start off with this one, the Weasel 1A2. This is a version with a tow launcher on the top, which has access to up to the tow 2B. This is the missile that can be fired above an enemy and then splash down. They're not quite as powerful as they used to be back when they first launched. So you have taken out the tow 2 as well. This is a tandem warhead ATGM with a very good 800mm in total, which is not bad at all. With the tandem warhead, of course, you can even defeat ERA, which is going to be quite useful at these higher bat ratings. And it is a little vehicle.
Yes.
Now, I want to
seen
quickly...
the explosive filler on the 2A?
I noticed it does a lot of damage.
25 kilograms in that thing. I was testing it earlier, and if you basically hit the side of a tank, the explosive mass will just blitz through the hull and ammo rack it. So it's
even from the rear. Even from the rear, I've been able to do that.
Yes, it's pretty nuts.
It is kind of insane. Now, okay, we are in arcade mode right now. Mind, this is not quite representative of the full mobility, but this is quite a nifty little vehicle. Look at that. Yeah. It has very good acceleration. I believe a power-to-weight ratio of around 60 horsepower per ton. Maybe lower. I can't recall the exact number right now. But it is pretty damn good. Of course, because it is a tracked vehicle, it can deal with terrain like mud and dirt a little bit better than wheeled vehicles can, while still being able to get a decently high top speed. This thing can go up to or over 70 kilometers per hour, which is not bad at all. As you can see, it is a tiny little vehicle. This is an IT-1, by the way, the Russian GM launcher. And the IT-1 already has a low profile. As you can see, the Weasel easily beats that. It has an extremely low profile, it's an extremely small little tank. Pretty much half the length of a Russian MBT, which aren't really known for being big.
Yeah, they're pretty low profile.
They are pretty damn good. Despite the, how should I put it, deceiving appearance of this thing, it looks kind of makeshift. It does actually have some thermal vision for the gunner. No commander sight on this one. And the AT-Gem is quite powerful, at least the TOW 2A.
Can we have a quick look at the gun depression as well? Well, gun depression.
We can indeed. Yeah, I don't think you're going to have problems with cresting up hills and pretty much not exposing yourself at all. Now, this tank only has 3 crew, so it is quite vulnerable if you get penetrated, which you will. This thing has no armor. You are going to die, but it is a very, very sneaky addition.
Indeed.
Now, this is not the only version that we have. Tom also has a different version over there.
I do.
Which is the Weasel 1A4.
Yes, currently classified as a SPA. This version is at 7.0 right now. Maybe that'll change because it, well, has some pretty good thermals, which we can quickly have a look at. And the M63 as well, which is not really the most penetrating round that there is, especially for a vehicle at this BR. But it's pretty good. So we can have a quick look at some of the features this thing has. Very similar functionally in terms of mobility and armor to the previous version. I think I'm on RB here, so we can have a look at the mobility a little bit better. But Gen 2 thermals, I believe, which is pretty nice for a vehicle like this. Again, very, very small. And this thing is going to be pretty interesting, although it's not quite as, I guess, usable as it may seem on the surface. The turret is not completely 360 degrees. It cannot go all the way back, and I believe it can't also go directly upwards as well. So it's a bit limited there, and as well, maybe, again, all this will change, but the recoil is pretty unmanageable. So it's pretty tricky. And at 7.0, you're still fighting a lot of World War II era vehicles, and even at the side, they are notably a bit more well protected. So this thing is, I would imagine, is going to be a little bit more usable in the higher tiers, where the sides and rear of MBTs are a little bit weaker. But even so, it's another interesting addition. I like stuff like this, and again, it's very, very small. And the turret, while it does protrude a little bit over the top, is a little bit more stealthy when compared, at least, to the AGM launcher, or the TGM launcher, and the other version you have there. So, yeah, this one's going to be pretty fun, I think.
Can you quickly show the X-ray as well? Because there's not a peculiarity of this vehicle compared to the 1A2 we showed earlier. It only has 2 crew, so it is even less survivable than the original Weasel we showed earlier, which is impressive, I suppose. I didn't know you could go any lower.
Pretty much.
Okay, we do have one third version, the final version for today, which is the Ocelot. The Ocelot is the Weasel chassis with a SAM on top. These are man pads, these are essentially stingers. You can get the FIM92K, which has a bit better tracking than the early version. Let me show you in a test drive. These are actually not bad at all now. I remember the old 3 days where you really struggled with hitting anything, pretty much. But these are actually not bad at all. Let's go for the MiG.
I haven't seen these work yet. So.
Okay, never mind, I messed that up. I'm messing everything up. Okay, let's do the IL-28, that works as well. Not sure if the tracking can work through the smoke. Now keep in mind, you still have some limits. These missiles do not pull 30G like the air-to-air missiles do, given that especially they have to launch from 0 velocity. So you do need to be opportunistic with when you launch the missiles. But against targets that aren't doing too harsh maneuvers, you can actually hit them now, which is quite nice. And you get the SOM launcher at a pretty decent bat rating as well.
Quite so.
Keep in mind, these are IR missiles, which means that they will be deflected by flares, which means that they are not going to be quite as useful against some of the higher tiered helicopters, which have automatic flare launches when they detect a incoming missile. But it's still a nice little addition to the 9.0 German lineup.
Absolutely.
Very much so. Okay, these are the German vehicles for the time being, but Tom, you have something to show off,
Yes,
a new addition to UI.
Yes, so in the protection analysis, there is now a new button called the protection map. And this basically, it's a bit preliminary, so it's not going to be completely perfect right now. But if you press it, it will basically paint on the vehicle at the angle that you're presenting where the round can potentially go through. And it's pretty reliable. I've noticed a couple of small issues with it, but it's still very much in the testing phase. But it's pretty good, and it's a nice way, if you're a new player who may be struggling with a particular, it'll basically show you where the weak spots are relative to the angle that you're presenting, which is pretty nice. And one other thing that's happened, which, is going to be a bit of a Reddit moment, I think. The armor of the frontal turret of the KTH and the 105 as well has been changed to variable thickness. And if I slowly go down here to the viewer port, maybe something's happening with the armor. I wonder what that could be. Maybe
it's almost as if there is a hole.
It could be a sort of a weaker armor area based on the viewport there. How curious that could be. I imagine lots of people will be very, very, very happy with that.
Curious indeed, especially certain early IS2 players with not the best shells out there.
Yes.
That could be quite interesting for them.
Indeed.
Now, this armor analyzer feature will be most useful against MBTs, for example, when you're not exactly sure where you can penetrate a certain MBT with a certain round. So you can, at least in the next update, you can very easily analyze the armor, and the game will essentially tell you where you need to shoot, so you can memorize it and apply it into the game. Now, I did lie earlier on. This is not everything we have for Germany. We do have one more thing.
We do.
Deutsch-Demokratische Republik. As you may know, after the war, Germany split, and the Eastern Germans got some interesting vehicles from the Soviet Union, and we now have one of those in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, the MiG-21 SPSK. This is going to be a premium MiG-21 fighter jet. It is roughly similar to the PFM in performance. It has a very nice pre-order camo, which sadly I don't have available on here to show you, but I can show you how it looks in the hangar and what the stats are. Quickly switching over into red mode. There we go. I am glad that we do have a not completely terrible amount of ammunition in this thing.
Yes, quite.
You have a 23mm cannon with 200 rounds, which is not that much. This cannon is extremely quick firing, so in a few seconds that ammo load is going to be gone. In terms of secondary loadout, you can carry up to 4 R3S or R missiles. The R missiles being the radar-guided ones, the S missiles being the infrared-guided ones. These are not the best missiles out there. They don't have the strongest G-pull. But you can surprise some people in head-ons, for example, if you get a decent radar lock with the R3Rs. This is the base camo. There will be a very nice pre-order camo, which should hopefully be announced soon.
Yes,
when
really
the pack
nice.
is announced.
Absolutely
it's actually really nice. I mean, I'm looking forward to that. And soon you will be able to fly some MiG-21 in the German tech tree. Well, yes, kind of. Okay.
Yes.
Next up, we have the USSR, and USSR is getting an interesting naval vessel over there, Tom.
Yeah, we have a brief look. A bit of a more, I guess, versatile coastal ship here, the MPK PR 201M. They never really had many sort of out there nicknames for these sorts of ships, so it was quite difficult to actually remember what they're all called. This is a pretty nice example. It's quite different to any of the ones we've seen before. Has the dual 25mm mounts, which are really effective in ships against light vehicles, or light vehicles like ships and aircraft as well. So these are pretty good. It's a bit slow, bit unwieldy, so actually getting both the guns on targets like a fast maneuvering ship is a little bit difficult. But it also does have the mortars at the front, which are pretty nice, although because of the dead zone obviously in the front, they need to be angled very high, which can make aiming them very difficult. But with a bit of practice, they can knock out destroyers, etc. pretty easy. So it's a pretty nice one. I like stuff like this that's a little bit different. And yeah, it's going to be a nice addition to these sort of earlier coastal, well, late for coastal, early for blue water battles though.
Okay, next up we have a new Sprut. In the last update we introduced the 2S25, which is situated over... Yeah, this is the wrong tech tree actually, oh sorry. Which is situated over here in the tech tree, and so this update we are bringing you a new one. Oh, the 2S25M. This is an upgraded version of the Sprut SD. It features a high penetration shell, the 3BM46, which is quite decent, as well as the addition of commander sight and thermals, which is rare in Soviet vehicles of this era.
Yes.
You do have thermal vision on the commander side as well, which is quite nice. Overall, the profile is pretty much the same. This is still an amphibious tank like the Sprott SD was before it as well. And it's basically a slight upgrade over the previous version. At Battering 10.0, you can do a nice lineup with it. You are, of course, going to be facing top-tier tanks, which is where the addition of this shell helps. And you also have a anti-tank guided missile fired through the barrel, which is quite nice. This one sadly is not a tandem warhead, so it is not going to be... it's not going to be easy to go through ERA depending on the strength, but you can still use it against helicopters and the like. Now, you may notice I have a PE8 in my lineup, and you may also know that this update is not called groundbreaking for nothing. We do indeed have a nice new thing, which is ground deformation. Bombs will now leave craters in the ground, which do affect the way that vehicles drive, as well as we have some other mechanics we're going to be showing you later on. But I'm going to quickly set up a custom battle, and Tom, I'm going to ask you to bring a tank. I'm going to bring out a PE8, and we are going to do a live test of the ground deformation, how it affects the map, if it is going to be impossible to leave a crater if you fall into one, all the good stuff. Now, the question is, what kind of map do we want to use? Red Desert might not be a bad one. I think I've seen a lot of people concerned that Red Desert was going to be unplayable because of bomb craters, so we're going to do Red Desert.
Okay.
And I'm going to make it realistic mode, so we can actually test out the traction properly. Okay, battle is mostly set up. I don't want bots for this. I'm going to send you an invite real quick.
Accepted.
There you go. And let's head into the custom battle and test this out. Oh. Okay, there we go. I'm going to be flying out the PE8 with the proper 5,000 kilogram bomb, the biggest bomb we have in the game, to see how it affects the map. And Tom is going to bring out the 2S25M to also test out the mobility of the vehicle.
True.
Did you upgrade yours?
Yes, it should be.
Okay, very good.
I believe, yeah.
Now, spawn on the right side, actually the left side. Left side has more open desert area.
Okay.
And I am going to attempt to drop a bomb, not exactly quite directly on you, but close enough.
Please be gentle.
Yes. It is technically our first time dropping bombs on maps like this. Yes.
Yeah, it is our first time. You're right. Let's go.
All right. As you can see... Oh, hold on. I made a little mistake. Let me just quickly actually grab the correct bomb. I'm sorry.
I'll just knock about on this for the time being. Very pretty. It's also got the little MG at the back, similar to the Marder.
Okay, it's not a bad position for that one at least.
Yeah.
I hated the back-mounted one on the Marder.
Very nice thermals as well for a Russian vehicle too.
Yeah, the 2S25 and the BMD4, they both had really, really nice thermals for Russian vehicles.
Very nice.
The Soviet vehicles kind of suffered from late development into commander sites and thermal imaging, which is why most of the Russian MBTs tend to not have the greatest of either. But with some of these additions, these more modern infantry fighting vehicle editions, you can actually get some very, very competitive thermal sites.
Yes, absolutely.
Alright, I have brought my PE8 with the correct bomb this time. I need to actually quickly check on the map where you are. So you are heading towards the A cap, yeah? Don't advance too much. I don't want to bomb you directly. I don't want to hurt you, Tom. You're too precious to me.
That's very sweet.
And this is a rather big bomb, and that's a not very well armored vehicle. Okay, I can see you. I'm going to drop a bomb behind you.
Okay.
See if I don't kill you. It's going to be essentially right in the middle of the open area. Now, a few points on the ground information of these bombs. It does not happen near solid objects. This is an artistic choice, gameplay balance choice as well. If you drop a bomb in a city near buildings or near rocks like this, the crater won't form. It is only in more open, soft terrain where you can do that. You're very close there, Tom.
Okay, maybe adjust course a bit.
I'm trying to. Okay, bomb out. Best of luck, Tom.
Okay, I will try my best to escape.
We're going to switch over to Tom's POV. And you survived!
I did. Very cool.
Alright, now do we actually have a crater is the question.
I believe we do. Small family crater.
Small family crater. Now, Tom is going to drive into the crater and show you how difficult or how easy it is to actually get out of it.
We will see. Yes, I believe
I have a feeling people are going to be a little bit disappointed by the size.
Yes, right now it's not the biggest crater in the world. I believe, you know, well, still very preliminary. But it does have a bit of depth. You can basically hide an entire vehicle in this. Which is quite cool, I think.
These craters can be formed by any bomb with a weight of 50 kilograms of more or more. Of course, depending on the size of the bomb and explosive yield, the craters are going to have different radiuses and different depths. A 50 kilogram bomb is not going to be quite as powerful as a 5-ton bomb, of course. But you can do some decent stuff. As you can see, Tom pretty much has no issues of getting out of the crater either. Your mobility is not going to be stopped, so no worries about that. I actually want to see if I can bomb the crater again to see if it goes any bigger or any deeper.
Give it a try, yes. Give it a try.
So do quickly evacuate the area. I'm going to make a turn around and see if I can drop a bomb again in roughly the same area. Not quite in the same area. I want to widen the crater a little bit, but we shall see.
I'll try and hide. Find some rubble.
And bombs away. I'm going to watch the explosion from here. And there we go. Okay, now we have 2 craters. Let's see how it looks on your POV, Tom.
POV. Well, big old bit of smoke. But we will have an investigate once it clears.
The P8 does leave quite a smoke plume with that big bomb, that is for sure.
They do.
Yeah, it doesn't seem too bad.
Yeah, we have 2.
That
Chat is doing exactly what I thought they would. Fantastic. Yep.
I wasn't planning on that, I swear. But yeah, I mean, even on that pretty steep terrain, no problems with getting out of it. Keep in mind, we are in realistic mode. This is a realistic mode custom battle. This is not arcade boosted physics. So yeah, I think it's safe to say you need not worry too much about getting stuck in bomb craters. It's a nice little feature that adds to the, well, immersion of the game, as well as maybe serving some tactical purposes. You can maybe drop a bomb tactically somewhere so that your team can take cover in a wide open field.
Yeah,
but
I like
beyond that,
it kind of adds another purpose to bombs, which is something I didn't really ever expect happening. But that's pretty cool. I like that. Like, I think the thing, at least for me, the one thing I really like about War Thunder, and I keep playing it, is that it's like the dynamics of just playing it, because it's like, I think the thing that I like about it is that the gameplay to me is like you're basically given a tool, and you know you need to do something with it, and this kind of gives you more ways to use that, and that's just to me is a big W, and I like that a lot.
just like this map, it's a sandbox.
Yeah, so you can just sort of, I don't know, it adds more. It really adds more, and I really like that. It's something I wasn't really expecting to happen, to be honest, but I'm definitely not upset that it's here.
I'm impressed it's actually happening. That's not an easy technical achievement, I have to say.
Indeed.
Alright, so that is bombs. We of course have other types of terrain deformation to show off later on when we get to Great Britain, which we are going to move on into right now. You may have seen in the trailer, certain tanks are going to get some plows, which you can use to essentially do some farming simulator 2021.
Yes.
Alright, let's move on to Britain then, and this time, for the first time ever, and I hope you guys realize how special this is, I am going to present a ship. I know, hold on. Hold your Z's. Yep. This one is actually quite interesting. I'm not a naval player, really, but I am actually quite impressed by this one. If you like big guns, you're going to be as well. This is the HMS, how is it pronounced, Tom?
Marlborough, I think.
Marlborough, okay. I'm never going to be able to pronounce that right. Marlborough. It has the new biggest guns in the game. I'm just going to go straight into it. 343mm guns.
Are they bigger than the Hyuga's guns?
I believe so. Let me double check.
The Hyuga is 356.
Oh, okay, never mind. It doesn't have the biggest guns. However, it has the most explosive filler, though.
True.
88 kilograms of TNT equivalent on this HE shell. To put it a bit into perspective, the Paris Commune, the Russian battleship we introduced in the last patch, had a 55 kilogram TNT equivalent warhead on its HE shell, on the upgraded one, which was already pretty damn good. This beats it by quite a bit. Let's just say you don't so much mildly inconvenient ships as you just rip straight big holes into the sides. I've gotten so many kills by sinking ships. It's kind of amazing. You just essentially destroy their hull and make them sink very, very, very quickly. And I am quite a fan of that. I'm going to be taking this thing out into custom battles. You can join us on the streams in the next few weeks as well, after the patch drops. And we're going to see what these HE shells can do against tanks. That's going to be quite interesting.
That's actually going to be very fun, yes.
It is. Now to something that is... I don't know what to make of that, Tom.
Look at the boy.
What?
Hello, boy.
What is that?
It's the Estovak, I believe it's pronounced. This is a new British anti-air vehicle, which is filling a gap that has been a gap for a bit too long. I think a lot of people have been waiting for something like this. And it does look a bit like a combine harvester or something. But this is a very interesting vehicle, certainly one I had no idea even existed. Incredibly lightly armored, as you can see. And I believe has an analog cannon similar to the R3 T20. So the same thing to expect in terms of penetration and performance. So I can give you a very brief test drive with this thing. Mobility is very, very good. But as you can probably see for yourself, the dead zone of the cabin is pretty big. So that's not super. It's not stabilized either. But the gun is, as always, very, very damaging. It's really, really good. And I believe it's a little bit slower than the R3. Oh, maybe a bit more so. But it's pretty nice. It's a vehicle that finally fills a gap, which is great. And you can also sit in the cabin as well.
Oh, that is adorable.
You can properly go farming. How relaxing is that?
Honestly, between that thing and us being able to now plow the fields, this is just Farming Simulator X War Thunder crossover.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. Nice. I can't believe someone actually made that, because it looks straight out of Crossout.
It kind of does, yeah. Like, it looks like it's sort of like ragtag together, which is... It's interesting. Like, I would never really expect a vehicle like this to be in the game. Like, you can see where the gun is just locked into place. Like, it's the sort of thing that... I know, there's... What's that game? It's like Men of War, but, like, modern. I feel like I've used this gun in that game as, like a deployable thing. And it's just to have it on the back of this weird-looking car is just... I know it's cool. I really like it.
I can't imagine this thing working too well in real life. The center of gravity is so damn high. I'm surprised you don't flip over when you turn.
Yeah, like, I mean, the driver right now is trying his goddamn best, and it's going pretty well. So, yeah, not quite as good as the R3, I would say, but in terms of actual, like, filling a gap that was very much needed, this thing is going to do a really good job, I think. So, yeah, very looking forward to giving this one a go. It makes so many more lineups, like, viable with anti-air, because the Crusader A Mark 1 and 2, they weren't, like, the worst in the world. Like, the Mark 2 especially was okay. But it's nothing like this, so it's going to be pretty good. It's going to be pretty good to see this thing.
Honestly, guilty admission here. I don't actually care about the lineups at all. I just want to try bringing this thing out into a map like Spaceport, where you have those construction sites.
Yeah.
And I want to see how long I can survive standing still and see if people confuse me with construction equipment.
That's quite a good idea, actually.
That is amazing.
I'll be happy to see that. Definitely.
Okay. Now, Britain has something else which is not new, but rather it is a update to a quite old vehicle, which we actually played yesterday on the official stream as well. This is the AVRE. This is a premium tank you can currently get in the game, and for the longest time it had this plow in the front, which couldn't really be used. Well, that was until now. We are introducing a new mechanic to the game. Right now, only a few tanks on the dev server are going to have a plow that can be deployed to do this, but hopefully our devs are working hard to make sure that a bunch of the patch, hopefully every tech tree nation should have at least one vehicle of doing, well, how best to describe it? This. Oh, wrong. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Farming Simulator 2022. I have a feeling the Germans are going to really enjoy this.
I think so, yes.
You can now dig into the ground and build your own little mud walls, which is going to have some limited effect on stopping certain shells. Now, these are not going to be essentially solid cover which are going to absorb any and all shells.
Yes, I think a lot of people assumed that and got very, very upset for no particular reason.
Very much so. Just like in real life, this is pretty much loose dirt. It's not compacted dirt, which means it's not very effective at stopping rounds.
Yep.
You have to make a very thick wall if you want to stop modern APF SDS rounds, for example. And doing that is kind of going to dig you quite deep in a way that you can't really, well, shoot out of. Currently, the Type 90 also has an addition of a plow, which is actually going to be quite useful in combination with the hydropneumatic suspension, where you can adjust your ride height, which may allow you to look over hills like this. But there you go. You can create your own pretty much makeshift cover in the middle of a field if you so desire. And if you want to, I'm going to quickly retract the plow.
It's actually going to be really good for the AVRE because it can fire over them. So
yeah, that's actually really true. I didn't think about that.
That's going to be pretty fun.
You can still drive over it, no problem, if you so prefer. Well, I said this is the first time I got stuck.
I knew in my head it was going to happen. I felt my heart
It was just
sink.
bound to happen. Alright, there you go. Just a little bit of a run-up. And there you go. You can now go across entire fields and plow them with your friends if you want to. I'm just going to quickly deploy the plow again and show you what happens if you go across a field like this, for example. Now keep in mind, there are limitations, much like with the bombs. You cannot just create craters anywhere and everywhere you want. There are limitations. You cannot do it on streets, for example. You cannot do it near buildings. You kind of have to go on soft terrain like earth, sand. I haven't tested snow yet, actually. That could be something we can try later on, if you have some time. But you can do your own fields. You cannot just continuously push earth, by the way. It has a certain distance where essentially drops the earth that you have accumulated so far, so it creates a little, essentially, hillway, which I have a feeling for custom battles we can make our own ramps and then have people drive off them with wheeled vehicles at top speed.
That's quite cool.
That is going to be amazing, actually.
If you sort of plow a bit near water, does the water fill the hole in?
It does not quite. Sometimes it depends on the depth of the hole. It depends on the base water level, essentially.
Interesting.
There's a maximum depth of how much you can dig, of course. You cannot just create a hole to the center of the earth. I believe it's 1.5 meters down, and the maximum height of the earth hill should also be around 1.5 meters. Now you can see you can add on to the width of it, essentially, and the wider you make it, the more effective it is going to be as armor. But of course, keep in mind, it's not quite solid ground, so it is not going to be stopping everything and anything. It's a nice addition, though.
Yeah.
Alright.
It'd be.
Next up, we have something for Japan. Now, this isn't quite a new vehicle. It is, in fact, the F4EJ Kai. We have shown this in, well, the last stream. It was released in the last patch. But it is getting an interesting new addition. The F4EJ Kai is getting JDAMs.
Yeah. Wild.
If you're unaware, JDAMs are American guided bombs. These are quite useful for taking out certain stationary objects that you want to destroy at longer ranges. In this game, you can bind them together with the, I think it's CCRP, the acronym. I can't recall what the name for this, but essentially you can control from the cockpit and designate a certain target, like a bombing point, and the bombs will guide themselves.
Very nice.
In fact, I'm going to quickly try this out in a test flight to show you. And actually, not the test flight. I want to go into... Oh, sorry. I want to go into a custom battle because I want to show you how you can use this not too effectively in ARB if you want to bomb some stuff, but hopefully in a decent way. So let's go to, for example, Afghanistan. I think Afghanistan is a nice one to start with. We're going to go into realistic mode. Yes, aviation. I do want a bot this time. Okay, is good. Let's go into this custom battle and show you the JDAMs. Now, JDAMs are not like the guided bombs we showed on the F7E, the American new jet we showed at the start of the stream. They cannot by themselves guide themselves to moving targets. You have to designate a fixed point, and that is where the bomb is going to go. You cannot lock on to moving targets and have the bombs destroyed in that way. So essentially, these bombs are more for destroying maybe stationary vehicles, of course, if you can designate those. But it's more for destroying bombing points, buildings, AA positions maybe, all that good stuff. Okay, we are going to be taking off with the F4EJ Kai. One important thing to note, these are guided bombs, not guided rockets, which means the reach of them is going to be entirely depending on your own altitude and your own speed. Essentially, the bombs carry the momentum from your aircraft. You can also not drop these bombs above Mach 1, so you have to be subsonic or very close to transonic in order to be able to drop these. I'm going to see if I can get a little bit of height and speed at the same time. I'm going to go into my multifunctions menu. I'm going to head over to the cockpit and I'm going to go to button 6, which is switch mission bombing target. As you can see, it outlines a red square. And on the top left, you can also see that the bomb is now locking the target. So let's drop, let's say 2 over there.
Okay.
And I'm also going to go 2 over there. I'm not sure if they're going to reach that far. We'll see. Okay, we're going to be following the bombs. As you can see, they guide themselves pretty effectively. You kind of have to get a feel for how fast you have to travel or how high you have to travel in order to be able to give them enough energy to get there. But they are going. And just to show you, so I have dropped a bomb, 2 bombs each on that target, and that target was flying in the middle of them. Are both going to be hit is the question. Might take a while. There we go. And yes, they were.
Nice.
So you can attack multiple targets at the same time, or if you happen to just like bombing in RRB or any other game mode really, you don't have to go directly to the target to drop bombs. You can kind of fake people out actually. You can fly towards one bombing target and actually drop the bombs on the other one if they are close enough, which is pretty nice.
Indeed.
Alright, next up we have, what do we have? Oh, something that you really enjoy, Tom.
Yeah, just, I mean, it's the stuff that, I mean, it only seems to me that likes. We have a new aircraft in the Chinese tree. It's very, very similar to the V11. Comes after the V11. It's the V12D. Pretty much universally improved version, and it's okay. Its flight performance is better than the V11, which was notoriously very, very stiff to control. This gets the 250 cals in the nose and 2 defensive gunners covering above and below, which is quite nice. A lot of these vehicles usually only have above at this tier. So it's nice. I like low tier stuff. I think it's kind of fun to add more vehicles to that kind of area. Always a bit of fun. And this is going to be nice. It's nice to have a vehicle with 50 cals at this tier because they are, at least for the lower ranks, incredibly effective at top-down attacks. 50 cals can pretty much rip through the roof of almost any low tier vehicle, really, at least at this battle rating. So for combined battles, it's pretty good. It's the same bomb loadout as the previous version, the 1500 or the 250s. So it's not the most overwhelming in terms of ground ordnance, but for what it is, it's pretty fun, and it's a vehicle that I would rather have than not have, I think. So that's pretty nice.
I am very much a fan of low battle rating and nose mounted 50 cals. Those are very, very nice.
Very nice.
This is not the only thing that China is getting. We are also going to be providing you with the ZLT-11, a new wheeled vehicle for the Chinese tech tree. 105mm cannon. It can fire a proxy fuse HE shell, which is going to be quite useful against helicopters and low-flying aircraft, if you can get a decent aim in. You got this new APF-SDS shell, which you can see the stats of here, if you want to, compared to the previous Type 83 APDS. And you also have this barrel-launched tandem ATGM, which is really quite interesting. 750mm of penetration. You can defeat ERA with this tandem warhead charge, of course. And because it is barrel-launched, I am hoping that it can also be fired whilst on the move.
I believe so.
You also get thermals, and this one also gets tank commander thermals, which is quite nice. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting addition to the Chinese 9.3 lineup. Next up, we have the Italians.
Yeah.
Starting off with that thing.
Yep, little premium boot, little premium destroyer, tier 3. Quite cheap, and it's not a bad one. Has 8 main caliber guns, which is pretty okay for a destroyer at that tier. They're not the most damaging destroyer. Well, these particular attacks, not the best, quite low in terms of TNT equivalent. Reload as well, not incredible, but they're really accurate. I found. I was giving it a go earlier, and they pretty much land in a perfect line. So these are really, really accurate guns. relative to your crew, of course. So it's nice. It's nice to have a tier 3 G premium. I don't think Italy had one before that you could really that was attainable in any case. So yeah, it's an analog to the version in the main tree. This one here. So very similar functionally, except this version changes the anti-air armament pretty similar for all premium ships. Really, they're usually variants that are in the main tree, but with slightly better air defense. And this gets to 76mm guns. I'm not sure where they are. They're somewhere. Here they are. And these have the VT shells on them, so it's a little bit better in terms of defense, a little bit more forgiving, and yep, nice to have a little premium for all the Italians at tier 3.
Speaking of Italians, do you guys like the Dardo? The vehicle introduced, I believe, last patch or a few patches ago. It's a nice little IFE. What if I told you could have a bigger gun on it? Welcome the VCC 80/30. This is basically a Dardo with a 30mm cannon. Very rapid firing, a very nice access to APFS DS with 1mm of penetration, which is really quite nice for getting through the sides of vehicles. You can also equip TOW 2s, TOW 2As, TOW 2Bs. TOW 2A, like on the Weasel we showed earlier, has quite a punch. And, oh, it doesn't seem like she has thermals on this one. Oh, well, that's a bit disappointing. You do get a laser warning receiver though, yes. And overall, it's basically a slight upgrade to the Dardo in the tech tree. It comes even right after that. You can use it in the 10.0 lineup if you so wish. And I have a feeling that 30mm cannon is going to be quite nasty. Quite nasty indeed. Here's a quick look at the stat card. And let's move on to France. A very interesting tech tree vehicle.
Yeah. I think something a lot of people will be happy about. EBR in the tech tree, rank 3, 4.3 currently. This is, I believe, the same turret and ammunition as on the FL10 AMX here. I don't know if the gun is exactly the same. I think it is exactly the same. So it basically fires similar rounds to the basically as an analog. The performance is very similar. It's basically the same round. I don't think there's really any deviation in terms of penetration. I think this round is different, but the M61 is pretty much the same. So it's one of the earlier EBRs. It's not quite as devastating as the other variants higher up in the tree, but mobility is very good. The cannon is very good from the side, even from the front. It's not like that bad at this tier, and it's going to be nice to have it. It's going to add a lot to some of the lineups if you don't quite have some of the other EBRs, and it's going to add a lot. I think there's not really any other options quite this mobile, I think, in the tree, so it's going to be nice. And yeah, not quite as good, of course, as this is not auto-loaded. It's so hand-loaded, only a couple of crew, so it's not really as good as the 6.0 EBR. But it's nice to have one in the tree. Really workable. It can get around the map faster than almost anything really at the tier. So yeah, it's a really nice vehicle to see. Hopefully a lot of people are going to be happy about that one.
By the way, I forgot to mention earlier on, I'm sorry about that, regarding the plows on the vehicles that will get them, they are a modification you have to unlock, a dozer blade modification. Of course, on the premium AVRE, premium vehicles have everything unlocked from the get-go, but on other vehicles that get plows, you may need to unlock the ability to use them beforehand. In fact, I can quickly show you on the Chieftain Mark III, which is one of the vehicles that are going to get this plow. If I disable the dozer blade, it does despawn from the visual model. So stock, you're not going to have a dozer blade, you're going to have these mounting points. If you want to equip the dozer blade, you have to research it first, apply the modification, and then you have a usable dozer blade. All right, next up we have something else for France, actually. Tom was kind of sneaky, not actually including it in the lineup. It's not the new jet, the Jaguar A, but I am kind of in love with this thing. The Jaguar A was always my kind of hidden treasure. It's a kind of transonic jet, not very good. It started off with 2 magic missiles, however, which are probably the best missiles in the game, air-to-air missiles. Then it got flares, a lot of flares, 252, which is amazing. You can pretty much flare all day long. And now it is getting some new loadout options as well. A new modification will be added to the Jaguar A, the French one. This Atlas 2, this installs a little laser pod down here at the bottom. This is a laser designator which you may guess is going to work pretty well in tandem with some new ordnance. Like, for example, what I have mounted on the plane right now, the AS30L. This is a big Nord missile with laser-guided capabilities. It is a missile, so it does fly ahead of you. It has its own propulsion. And the laser designator on Jaguar A is able to track moving targets as well, which is very, very useful in ground RB, for example. You also have laser-guided bombs, BGL 400 kilogram bomb, and a 1000 kilogram bomb. These are, in my own personal limited experience so far, not quite as useful as the laser-guided missiles, because you have to maintain a laser lock for these bombs to hit a target. If you fly away, for example, or if you fly outside of the locking range of your laser designator, the bomb will go off course. So you have to maintain a laser lock, which means that with a ordnance option such as this, which does not have its own propulsion, it can often happen that you're going to outrun your own bomb, which isn't ideal. So, I'm going to quickly show you the power of the ASL, because honestly, the AS30L, I'm absolutely in love with this thing. Let me quickly go into a test flight. I believe this test flight is going to have a moving target, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to figure out in a second. Yes.
We certainly will.
Okay. Now, in order to use this laser designator, once again, you can use a TV, essentially, like you can on the Mavericks, if you prefer. I personally prefer using another method. Once again, I'm going to open up my multifunctions menu in a second when I get airborne. And I'm going to use the targeting point option from there. Let me get a little bit of separation here. If I'm not mistaken, the moving targets are on the left side over there. Aren't those moving right now? They are moving indeed. Okay. Now, the laser designator is pretty damn good right now. You can get some very, very long-range locks. Of course, keep in mind, the laser will need to maintain a visual contact to the target. If it drives behind a tree, you may lose the lock, as well as if it deploys smoke or stuff like that, which could actually be a consideration given that we have some vehicles with laser warning receivers, which are going to get pinged by the system. So smart players with laser warning receivers who know that the Jaguar A in the air might want to beware. Okay, I'm going to quickly turn around. These are some very big missiles, by the way.
There's a chubby turning circle going on right now.
Alright, going to deploy the flaps just to help out. I want to be as above as possible just to make sure I don't get blocked by those trees, if at all possible. Okay, let's open up my cockpit menu, activate targeting point. Let's see if we can get a solid hit there. There we go. As you can see, it is locking the moving target. I'm now going to drop my missile. Now, here's the thing. You do still need to maintain a laser lock. You have a decent angle of where you can maintain a lock, but if you start immediately turning away and running away the other way, the missile will lose its lock. That is a consideration that you have to have. Which means that you are still sort of vulnerable to surface-to-air missiles that are fired in your direction. However, since you can use this at quite a long distance, which I'm not going to do right now just because of time concerns, but I have been able to get 10-kilometer locks with this thing, you can probably outrange some of the SAMs in this game, if you can find them. Keep in mind, of course, that in ground RB, you don't have player markers, so you have to visually spot the target, which may not be the easiest thing to do. In fact, I'm currently struggling in spotting the tank. Oh, there he is. Cockpit, go into deadlock, fire off the missile, it guides itself, and poke!
Very nice.
It's a nice little addition to the Jaguar. I absolutely love this plane, and now I have an excuse to actually use it in ground RB as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, moving on to the final nation we're going to be showing today. We have Sweden, and Tom is going to be showing you a new addition to the ground tree.
Yes. And early STRF 9040B, currently at 8.3. The same turret, I believe, is on the bill, ever so slightly different. And this version gets Gen 2 thermals for the gunner, and apart from that, it's pretty similar to the existing variants. It's another version to sort of bolster that lineup, which is pretty nice, and it's good to get another one of these. Now, quick look at the models here. Only the one darts, so it doesn't have the improved version, but it does get thermals, and I believe apart from that, it's pretty much the same. So it does bolster the lineup, which is nice, as this is quite more of a versatile light vehicle. A lot of them are a bit more support-oriented around this BR, but this one's still pretty aggressive, has the potential to be at least. Full stabilizer as well, as far as I understand. So yeah, not really a huge amount to say about this one, as it is very similar to other variants you've seen before. But regardless, it's very nice to see it in the game. Nice one to have.
Very much so. Does it have commander thermals as well?
I don't know if it has commander thermals.
You can check in the modifications, actually. It should tell you if it has.
I don't know what type they have.
It does have thermal vision on the commander. That's interesting. Okay.
So yeah, gunner and commander, but I don't know if it's the same on both. But we can check when the dev server comes out.
Exactly, which is going to come out today, by the way. Quick PSA once again. The dev server is launching within, well, in a few minutes or within an hour. Make sure to download the dev server if you want to test this stuff out for yourself. Do you like the Viggen? The JA37 that we introduced in the last patch. Well, if you happen to also be a fan of the Swedish ground tree, you may be looking for a ground attacker version of that plane.
Perhaps.
And you will be happy to hear that, yes, we have it now, the AJ37. This is a ground attacker version of the Viggen with a few distinctions. Most noticeably, you may note that I have no guns on this plane. You have essentially removed the gun from the fuselage itself in order to be able to accommodate other things. Right now, this is still early work in progress. There may be other things added. I can't confirm anything right now. Just keep in mind that what you're seeing is all work in progress. These are the loadout options. You can have flares as a pod that has to be mounted. If you don't carry flare pods, you don't have flares on this plane. Guns, you can carry two 30mm gun pods with 300 rounds total. Once again, if you don't carry the gun pods, you don't have guns. But you have something interesting, which is the RB75. These, as far as I'm aware, are essentially Mavericks. So, much like the Mavericks, these are TV-guided missiles, which you can use even against moving targets, if you so desire. Very, very, very powerful. 50 kilograms of explosive filler. That is very, very powerful. These also have a heat warhead, so they should have no issues in going through pretty much anything if they hit, if they maintain the lock. And since you get two of them, you can get pretty much 2 kills, as long as you don't get shot down by a SAM missile. Tom is going to be showing you the flight performance, which is going to be very similar to the Viggen, but on a new map.
A new map. And this is the sort of map I've been looking forward to for quite a while. This is, I believe it's has an arcade and realistic version, an air map. And this is very interesting, because one of the most underutilized aspects of at least ARB maps is the terrain. As usually the map is very, very low. There's not really much opportunity to do much with the map you're on. It's mostly just the same, apart from the thermodynamics and that kind of thing, and the sort of climbing paths. But this is pretty interesting because you have a lot of ravines, you've got a lot of gorges. I'll try and show you around as much of this map as I can. But it's going to be pretty interesting because this map allows you lots of different pathways into the core of the map itself, which means you can dodge radar, you can dodge the pings, and you can really surprise some people, I think, potentially. So this is going to be interesting. I don't know exactly how it's going to play, of course, as, you know, it's, well, I've only really had a small amount of time to play around on it, but it's very, very nice. It's very different thematically. And the way the layout is comprised basically gives you a lot of ability to pick where you want to go and actually make your way into the map. It's good for ground attack as well, because you can sneak around here and get some shots off on the ground targets without being pinged or seen, which is really, really nice. And there's lots of different you know, highland and lowland to fly around, and it's something that I think has been missing for quite a while. I think maps like Afghanistan and City kind of got close, but this looks pretty interesting to me, and I'm excited to play this. I like this, so it's the sort of thing I've been waiting for quite a while.
There are some interesting features on this map as well. You mentioned a certain type of mine.
Yeah, there's a diamond mine.
There's a diamond
mine. Have a little
mine.
bit of a flyby there. Let's have a look.
So hold on, let me get this straight. We have now ground information with bombs, TNT. We can dig our own holes with a shovel. We have a diamond mine. Are we going to return to Minecraft?
I mean, I've got the joke book right here.
We do. It was all premonition.
There we go.
We planned all of this.
It comes full circle. That's what it's all about. It's about back and forth.
Do you actually know whereabouts the diamond mine is? Should be just
It's right
ahead.
here. Yeah.
Now, I am actually personally more interested in the possibilities of this map in a custom battle scenario, where you can bring out helicopters and tanks as well. I think there might be some interesting fights to be had, or interesting custom game modes to be had in this specific map. There's also a city area. Is it close to you?
It is. It's right over here.
So you have a bit of everything. If you like the city air map for its flying through buildings trying to evade radar missiles, you have a bit of that, a little city area over here to use. You have the ravines, you have canyons, you have a lot of options. It is essentially a big sandbox, and you decide on how you want to approach the battle on this specific map.
Absolutely.
No Minecraft jokes today. I'm sorry.
Not quite today.
Next week. Tune in on next Thursday when we return to our regular schedule.
Oh, but yeah, this is probably one of the most sleeper editions so far. I found out about this quite late, and I just sort of had to just fly about on it for a while. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's a really kind of a more dull thing to be excited about, but I like it. I like things that change how matches are played, and a map like this can really do it. There's so many opportunities to kind of hide and use the map, like, to your advantage, basically, and that's just not something that's really that utilized. So I think people are going to enjoy this, and so this is something I'm definitely looking forward to.
I can't wait to crash into every single wall on this map.
Yes, there's gonna be some trench run moments. on a
Yes.
map like this.
Oh, the montages are going to be amazing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is all that we have to show to you today. Don't worry, there will be more content by the time the patch releases. This is just a little sneak peek at some of the things to come. Reminder, you can actually test these things out yourself today. We are opening up the dev server, should be actually right about now, that you can check out the dev server and test out all of this stuff yourself. Do you want to see what bombs do in different terrains? Drop some bombs! Do you want to see what the dozers do? How they perform? Which vehicles get them right now? You can do that all on the dev server once it is open to the public.
Yes, might not be open right now, but quite soon, I believe, is the plan.
Should be roughly within an hour. Keep in mind there's always some delay, so
Yeah.
roughly soon TM, but today. And that is going to be it for us today. Hopefully you enjoyed this preview of our upcoming update, groundbreaking. We shall see you again next week. Tom is going to have his Tea with Tom again this Monday, where he can answer some game questions, maybe some questions you have about the tester, we'll see. And next week we also have the Thursday regular stream, where we're going to go back to our usual schedule of derping around and having some fun. Thank you much for watching the stream. My name has been Mike is Boom. I have been joined by Tom, aka Oxy. We are your official hosts for the Warframe channels, and we shall see you on the desert very soon. Goodbye.